What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Is it time for Jordan Lawlar to start this season with the Arizona Diamondbacks and my favorite D-backs prop bets as we enter the 2025 regular season?
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. Listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist, and I'm a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles to my photos and my graphic design. If you want to see more content by me, please follow me on Twitter at CareerThomas24 for my personal account, or look up Locked on Diamondbacks, both Twitter and Instagram, for the podcast handle. On today's show, we're going to be discussing, should Jordan Lawlar start the season with the Arizona Diamondbacks, our favorite D-backs prop bets as we enter the season, and then looking at MLB's network's top 10 players right now each position and seeing how many D-backs players landed on their list. Thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners. Sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. One of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. All right, let's get back into the show. First, want to say, sorry if it felt like I went MIA there for a few days. I had a family emergency at the end of last week, had to take a quick flight back home to the East Coast. And then I also moved into a new apartment this weekend. So just a whole lot going on. Also got a new car. So we've had a whole bunch cooking the past few days. And so I apologize if it seems like I went MIA there. Just had a lot going on in my personal life, but we are back here 3 days this week with podcasts. And then next week, we are back to full time, 5 days a week, your team every day on the Locked on Podcast Network. So please subscribe, of course, to YouTube and wherever you stream your podcasting platforms. But let's talk about Jordan Lawlar, because there's, of course, going to be a lot of discussion as we go through spring training. And as we approach the regular season, should Jordan Lawlar start this season with Arizona out of camp, out of spring training, day one opening day? Should Jordan Lawlar be there? Because I believe going through spring training, if he has a great camp, a great spring training, he looks the part, I think he should crack the D-backs opening day roster. And there's a few reasons why I believe it would be beneficial to the D-backs. The first reason is they could get back a great draft pick if he has a full season of Major League service and is in the running for one of those awards. The D-backs could get back a top pick in the draft right after the first round. The D-backs could get back a top pick. That's what they got back when Corbin Carroll won Rookie of the Year just a couple years ago. They got the 31st pick in the draft. And so Jordan Lawlar, we know he's talented, currently ranked as the 11th best prospect in the MLB. If he puts together a season where he could play 100+ games, put together a solid slash line, we know the defense is good. Yeah, Jordan Lawlar could definitely be in the running for Rookie of the Year, and potentially there's an injury to like Geraldo Perdomo or another guy, or maybe his bat is so good that he comes and takes over DH. Like, yeah, if Jordan Lawlar somehow wins Rookie of the Year or gets himself into voting where the D-backs get themselves a draft pick, and then you get yourself another high-ranking prospect in this D-backs farm system, which currently is not highly regarded around Major League Baseball. And a lot of it is because look at the D-backs the last few years. Go look at a D-backs top 30 prospect list from like 3 years ago on MLB.com. Half those guys have graduated. And so we're hoping Jordan Lawlar could be the next guy. He is someone that we've seen already make his debut with the D-backs. He had a little cup of coffee during the World Series run. The biggest issue with Jordan Lawlar is his health. When he plays in AAA, AA, the minor leagues, he has tore the cover off the ball. He has looked really comfortable down there. The issue is there just hasn't been a sustained period of dominance for Jordan Lawlar because he always seems to get hurt at the worst time. Last year in 2024, he only played 23 games last year, if you could believe that. But in those 23 games, he batted 318, 900 OPS, something that you really like to see. And so you're hoping that the bat is good enough. The last time we saw him on the major league level, he did not look ready. He was pretty easily fooled. It was easy to dominate Jordan Lawlar up there at the plate. Like he swung at stuff that just fools when he swung at stuff that easily fools you when you're an inexperienced young Major League Baseball player at the plate. And those opposing pitchers had a field day going against Jordan Lawlar. And I would like to think his bat is much improved from where it was a couple years ago. But again, he just hasn't played a ton of major league games. So that could be the biggest worry for Jordan Lawlar. If you're concerned about him on the major league level, it would probably be, is his bat good enough? Because on the minor league level, it seems like it is, but the sample size has been so small. Plus, he's playing in AA and AAA. We know Reno, where the Aces play, that is one of the most hitter-friendly leagues in minors. All those guys' offensive stats go crazy. The pitchers, their pitching numbers are a little bit less than to be desired because of how great the offenses are down there because of the conditions in the environment. And so for Jordan Lawlar, we want to see if the offense is real. If anything, we know the glove is real. Like for the Dbacks, you could potentially get a top draft pick if you call him up and he gets a full year major league service time. You're going to get, at the very worst, if you put him on the opening day roster, like Nick Ahmed. Like at the very least, Jordan Lawlar should be Nick Ahmed, where maybe he can't hit, but the glove defensively with that some athleticism should be a big help. Now, let's be a little bit more optimistic. Let's not call him Nick Ahmed. Let's say Jordan Lawlar hits the best case scenario for at least himself the rookie year, maybe even wins rookie of the year, finishes top 3 in rookie of the year voting. Is that version of Jordan Lawlar good enough to split time, full time, or Geraldo Perdomo at shortstop, to be like the split platoon there as the right-handed bat, maybe be the split platoon at DH with Pavin Smith, maybe he takes full time over that Randall Grichuk role in that DH, because we're still looking for a right-handed bat to pair Pavin Smith. Maybe Jordan Lawlar is that answer. At the very least, he can fill the role that Kevin Newman had last year, which is like a super utility one, right? Kevin Newman played second, shortstop, third base last year. He played in 111 games, and despite having a 686 OPS, he was still a 2.2 win player according to WAR. You tell me Jordan Lawlar can't at least be Kevin Newman over the course of 111 games? If he just did what Newman did last year, he would probably finish top 5 rookie of the year voting. And statistically, it wasn't even that impressive. And so I believe Jordan Lawlar, if the camp goes well, if spring training goes well, he should crack the opening day roster with the D-backs. I don't believe in sports we should continue to coddle our players as long as possible. I definitely believe in development, not rushing your guys too much, but like, how long do these guys need? At some point, you have to throw them into the fire and just see if they have it. I think sometimes in Major League Baseball, they will wait so long in the minor leagues, and then they graduate, and it just, their time has passed. For Jordan Lawlar, if he's as good as we think he is, call him up while he's still super young. He's been in the minor leagues a couple years. He's had a cup of coffee on the Major League level. Let's see what he can do. Throw him in the fire. You could potentially get a draft pick back. If anything, you'll get Nick Ahmed 2.0 in your building. In the best case scenario, maybe get someone that could platoon with Pavin Smith and Geraldo Perdomo in your lineup. Now, coming up, we'll talk about our favorite D-backs prop bets as we enter the 2025 regular season.
From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. FanDuel is the app that is easy to navigate, and the variety of bets keeps every game exciting. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly, no waiting around for your winnings. Whether you're betting on your favorite team or just looking to add some extra excitement to the playoffs, FanDuel has you covered. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is the same game parlay. Whenever the Suns are playing, give me KD over on 25 points, give me Booker over on 25, and give me the Suns money line. When it hits, which is not very often, it brings a big smile to my face. If you want a big smile on your face, just visit fanduel.com to join today and get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's fanduel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
All right, back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Let's talk about our favorite Dbacks prop bets according to FanDuel as we enter the 2025 regular season, because we did a big betting podcast last week with Javier Reyes of Locked on Padres discussing the NL West, World Series odds, award odds, but I want to discuss some team and more player-specific prop bets related to the D-backs, because I think there's some money to be had out there if you're an Arizona fan, because like I always say, when you go on FanDuel, I love our friends at FanDuel, but they constantly disrespect the D-backs in terms of the odds. And maybe it's not FanDuel's fault. Maybe it's the fact that society hasn't caught up. Maybe society hasn't realized the D-backs are a good team. They're not up and coming anymore. The D-backs are here. They're a real contender, because the money tells you, according to like the odds when it comes to World Series and the division, like all those odds tell you the D-backs are like the third best team in the division by far. This is a team that's middle of the pack when it comes to their chances of winning the World Series. Teams like the Minnesota Twins are more likely. I want to say, I don't think that's all on FanDuel. A lot of that could be on society not realizing the D-backs are actually good, because when I look at some of these prop bets, I get the same feeling. And I want to start off with stolen bases and talk about Corbin Carroll, because we know Corbin Carroll is coming off a season where a little bit disappointing after having a rookie of the year where he took home the award, finished top 5 in MVP voting. We were like, okay, after that kind of season, can he go up another level and take home the MVP now? Instead, he went the other way, regressed, and had himself a worse season. And despite having a worse season, was still leading the league in triples, still a 22 home run, 30 plus stolen base player. Had a great second half where he was one of the 5 best players in the last 80 games of the season. Like, Corbin Carroll still was a very good player last year, despite having a massive disappointment in his sophomore year. And so, considering he went from 54 stolen bases to 35 stolen bases in his disappointing year, where do you think FanDuel would have him for 2025? Probably right in the middle, right? Because that's where it is. 38.5 stolen bases. And considering in the first half of the season, he did not have that many steals because he was so bad offensively. But in the second half, he started running a lot because he was getting on base a lot more. And so the question is, where do you think Corbin Carroll's offensive profile is going to be next year? Because if he's a lot closer to the guy we saw in the second half of 24, the first half of 23, that guy is smashing over 38.5. But if we see more of these lulls from the second half of 23 and the first half of 24, that guy is probably going to be under 30.5. Right now, over 30.5 is minus 120. Under 38.5 is minus 106. I would take the over. I think what we saw in the second half from Corbin Carroll last year with the power, I think he's going to get on base a ton more next season. And we know he's not afraid to get aggressive. We know he's one of the fastest players in the majors. I would pound the over on 38.5 at minus 120 for Corbin Carroll's stolen bases. Now, this next one, strikeouts for pitchers, I think is kind of fun. Corbin Burnes is at 167.5 strikeouts for the over-under. And the thing is with Corbin Burnes, the question is, do you think his trend of his strikeouts going in the wrong direction, do you think that trend is going to continue? Because in 2020, and of course the COVID-shortened season, he had 13.30 strikeouts per 9. The next season, 21, his Cy Young season, led the league in strikeouts per 9 at 12.6 and had 234 strikeouts. The next season, he led the league in strikeouts at 243, but his strikeouts per 9 went to 10.8. The very next season, in 2023, another 200 strikeout season for Corbin Burnes and 193 innings pitched, but his strikeouts per 9 went to 9.3 strikeouts per 9. Now this past season, 2024, Another season, 194 innings pitched, just like the previous year, but his strikeouts went from 200 to 181, and his strikeouts per nine went from 9.3 to 8.4. Every single season, he has pitched around 200 innings pitched, but his strikeout rate and his total strikeouts have gone down. The question is for Corbin Burnes, if he can be at around a 9.3 strikeouts per nine this upcoming season, he will probably hit that 200 strike mark, or if he makes 33, 34 starts, he will make that mark. The question is, will his strikeout rate continue to go down? He can still be an elite, great pitcher, still worth the contract he gave him, despite not being as elite as a strikeout artist. So the question is, do you think he will continue that trend of going in the wrong direction strikeout wise? Probably, but even if that trend continues, I don't think his strikeouts will drop below 167 and a half. That's why I would pound the under, not the under, the over, pound the over on 167 and a half. I don't think he's going to be under that unless he gets hurt. I think another healthy season, 190 plus innings from Corbin Burnes, he's going to smash the over on 167 and a half, and that's at minus 120. Please give me that easy money. Then Zach Gallen, his strikeout over under is even less than Corbin Burnes. His is only 163 and a half. And I think that's borderline disrespectful for Zach Gallen. I think the biggest question is his health, because last year in 148 innings pitched, he had 156 strikeouts. The year before, 220 strikeouts. The year before that, in just 184 innings pitched, 192. So the question is, if Zach Gallen gets to 165 innings pitched, he's going to smash that number. At minus 113, the over, I would smash the over for Zach Gallen. I think that's easy money there. I think both of their strikeout totals are too low for either one. I think if you really want a chance at some juice and some money, you could take the over on both of those. You know, you could put 20 down, get like $18 back, right? You could put 100 down, get like $98 back. But if you want to win real money, bet on them to get 200 strikeouts, because if both of those guys pitch 33 starts and have 195 innings, approximately, both of those guys are going to be around 200 Ks. Zach Gallen, if he hits 200 Ks, is plus 440. Corbin Burnes is plus 360. And I actually believe Zach Gallen is more likely to hit 200 Ks than Corbin Burnes. So I think Zach Gallen at plus 440 to hit 200 Ks is actually tremendous value. Then the last prop bet that I want to look at that I found a little bit interesting is the home run over under for the Dbacks players, specifically two of them. Corbin Carroll is 21 and a half for over under home runs. I just think you have to smash that over, because you look at his first season with the Dbacks, he had 18 home runs in the first half. He had 25 overall. Last year, he had no home runs in the first half, essentially. He had like 3. They all came in the second half, and he still finished with 22. So through 2 full seasons, he has hit over 21 and a half home runs. And at minus 106 for the over, unless Corbin Carroll misses half the season, I have no reason to believe he's not once again going to hit over 21 and a half home runs, which he's done every single season of his career, which he started the full season. So give me the easy money on minus 106 for that. Then the other one is Ketel Marte, regular season home runs. Last year, we know he had a monster season, 30-plus home runs. And despite that, his home run total is only at 25 and a half. I think the question is, do you think Marte can replicate this season he had last year? Because he is at times, one of those yo-yo players when you look at his baseball reference from year to year. He hit 25 home runs in 2023. So you would like to believe the power is back for Marte. Hit 32 home runs in 2019, but from 2020 to 2022, he never hit more than 14 home runs. So that one's a little bit more tougher. I think I might stay away from that, because minus 120 for the over, I don't think is enough juice. And I wouldn't feel confident enough to bet the under either on Ketel Marte. So I think I would stay away from the Ketel Marte over under home run prop bet total, but definitely smash the over on Zach Gallen and Corbin Burnes for their over under on strikeouts. Maybe do a couple little sprinkles on Zach Gallen, 200 strikeouts for this season, and definitely bet on Corbin Carroll over on home runs and over on stolen bases. That was 38 and a half. You do all that, you listen to Millie, and you will be pulling in some money at the end of the 2025 MLB regular season. Now we'll discuss how many D-backs players are considered top 10 at their position by MLB Network in segment number 3. And if you're looking to buy tickets to an upcoming sport or an event, then the best place to do that, of course, is going to be Game Times, because Game Time is the best place for last minute deals on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. They have this feature called all-in pricing. When you toggle this feature on, it shows you your total cost up front with no surprise fees at checkout. You could get a panoramic view from your seat before you buy. They also have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. All right, let's get back into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast and let's look at MLB Network's top 10 players at each position to determine how much talent the D-backs have compared to the rest of the league, and if any players were slided in the shredders rankings of all these players across Major League Baseball, because I do think there were a couple omissions by the D-backs and a couple players who were a little bit too low. But let's go position by position and see, because when you look at the MLB Network top 10 for left fielders, omission, no D-backs on the list. Lourdes Gurriel would be the guy. He's got some pop. He plays great defense, but when looking at the top 10, does he deserve to be on it? I don't know. Just looking at like the last few, number 7, Jackson Chourio, people think he has a better chance to win the MVP next year than Corbin Carroll. So hard to put Lourdes Gurriel above him. Stephen Kwan is a fantastic hitter. Taylor Ward showed some impressive power last year. And then Brian Reynolds is the best player that no one's ever seen, I guess, because when he was on that trade market for like 2 years and no one traded for him, but yet he was talked about by Pirates fans like he's a superstar, I guess he deserves the number 10 spot. So Lourdes Gurriel, I don't think that's a slight at him. I think I'm okay with him being left off the top 10 list for left fielders. You look at first baseman, you do see a former D-back on the list. I mean, technically 2 former D-backs, because Paul Goldschmidt's number 10, Christian Walker, number 7, actually ahead of Pete Alonso at number 8, which I think is kind of funny. And then no D-backs after that. Josh Naylor, though, I think has a chance to crack this top 10, especially considering Paul Goldschmidt is old. Nathaniel Lowe, I think he's going not the other way, but I do think he's a guy that could probably plateau, and I don't see him going to another level. And so I think Josh Naylor could crack that number 9, number 10 spot. He's still young, coming off an all-star year. You go to a good team, bigger market like the D-backs. You replace a really good first baseman in Christian Walker. If you come in immediately, fill his shoes, have a great offensive season, play solid defense, and you don't skip a beat. Yeah, he could definitely crack the top 10 next year. Right fielders, Corbin Carroll, of course, on the list, but number 6, I think, is kind of crazy. I'm fine with Judge. I'm fine with Tucker. I'm fine with Soto. I think he should be above Tatis for now, but I'm fine even if you want to put Tatis above him. Where I have a little bit of issue is number 5, Seiya Suzuki, who is, again, really good. But if you ask a Cubs fan, who would you rather have right now, Seiya Suzuki or Corbin Carroll? I guarantee you they're choosing Corbin Carroll. So he should at least be number 5, because I think Corbin Carroll as a top 5 right fielder just makes so much sense. Looking at the shortstop market, there is a D-back omission here. No Geraldo Perdomo. And again, it's just one of those things where it's just hard to fit him on the list, because shortstop is probably the deepest position, arguably, in baseball right now. I mean, number 10 is Trey Turner. Number 9 is Willie Adames. Number 8 is Ella De La Cruz. There's no chance for Geraldo Perdomo going on this list. If anything, I think their list needs to be rearranged, because they have Carlos Correa number 7, Dansby Swanson number 6. I wouldn't take either of those guys over Ellie, Willie, or Trey Turner, but still no chance for Geraldo Perdomo. If you did the all underrated Major League Baseball team, I think Geraldo Perdomo cracks that top 10, but just straight up top 10 shortstops in terms of talent, Jerry's unfortunately not there yet, but maybe D-backs have 2 players among top 10 shortstops next year, and Jerry and Lawlar, probably not, but we'll see. Top 10 second baseman, no disagreement here. Ketel Marte, number 1, as he should be, coming off that monster season where he wouldn't have given Shohei Ohtani a run for his money, but he definitely would have locked up that runner-up for MVP if he never gets hurt last year. He still should finish runner-up, as I keep saying, but that's okay. We'll give it to Francisco Lindor. Third base, Eugenio Suarez cracks his top 10 at number 10. I'm fine with that in a vacuum, but Manny Machado's number 4. They had the same season last year. Max Muncy played half the season last year. He's number 8. Isaac Paredes does not have the power A. Eugenio has. Nolan Arenado is old and aging. I'm fine, I guess, with A. Eugenio at 10, but you could definitely make the argument for him to be probably as high as number 8 on this list. Top 10 starting pitchers. No Zach Allen, but we did get Corbin Burnes on this list at number 6. I'm fine with it. Chris Sale, I don't know how after just one season of being back, he deserves to be above Corbin Burnes. I get he won the Cy Young, but if you don't pitch for 4 seasons due to injury, and then you have your one, then of course you have your one great season where you win the Cy Young. But is that enough to justify the other guy who's top 3 to 5 in Cy Young voting every single season? Great bill of health. Like, should you be above him? I don't know if Chris Sale should be above Corbin Burnes. I don't know if Blake Snell should be above Corbin Burnes because, again, Burnes plays more than Snell, and they've both been statistically the same the last 3 years. So I feel like Burnes, considering he plays, should at least get the respect over Snell. So that's fine. Burnes is number 6. I think he should be probably as high as number 4, but who am I to say? Gabriel Moreno, he falls at number 7 on the catcher's list. I'm fine with that. Gabriel Moreno, if that offense he showed us a little bit last year when he was batting number 2 in the lineup, if that can continue in 2025, Gabriel Moreno could be a top 5 catcher in the sport. And then relievers, no current D-backs, no Justin Martinez or AJ Puk, but Edwin Uceda, number 6 on the list. I don't know if Edwin Uceda is that good, but okay. Justin Martinez better be on the list next year. If not him, AJ Puk at the very least. And then no center fielders for the D-backs. We got Garrett Mitchell. We got O'Neal Cruz on here. We can't get a little Jake the Rake McCarthy. Dalton Varsho is on the list. Mike Trout's on the list. Mike Trout is a stud, but somehow he never plays any games. Jake McCarthy should at least be an honorable mention there. So if you're looking at the D-backs that don't have a top, if you're looking at the positions that don't have a top 10 D-back, left field right now, they did not get Lourdes Gurriel. Technically, first base did not get Josh Naylor. Center field did not get us. Shortstop did not get us. And reliever did not give us. So no D-backs at 5 of the positions listed at the MLB Network top 10. But still, D-backs all over that list, with Ketel Marte being the highest at number 1 at his position at second base. D-backs are a loaded team and could definitely make the argument that maybe they should have had 2 starting, pitchers, right? Maybe Josh Naylor should have been up there. Maybe Gabriel Moreno should have been higher. At the very least, seeing top 10 D-backs all over that list lets you know that the D-backs are in a very good place. A few years ago, you look at a list like that, and you might see one guy in Paul Goldschmidt and maybe one other guy like a Zach Greinke or something, but not a lot of D-backs, not more than half of the list. Not, more than half the positions have at least one D-back on the list. That's not something you could have said a few years ago. So great job by this D-backs front office to really accumulate all this talent the last few years. And that's why we have ourselves a real contender in 2025. Now that's it for this edition of the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy. Dose.